In 1875, Logan Whitlock was fishing in the river here, and they recognized green stains on the walls of the canyon and knew that was malachite, which is a mineral often associated with silver. So they decided to try to mine the area. When that didn't work out, they then leased the property to the city of Ouray as a park. I'm sitting on the rooftop dining area of the Ouray Brewery restaurant, and looking south across the street we see the sign for the Box Canyon, which I plan on visiting next. To the falls. The type of canyon we are visiting is referred to as a box canyon. It's a type of canyon that is enclosed on three walls. The terminal end is often a waterfall or a spring. Ranchers used box canyons as natural corrals for their horses and cattle, in that they only had to close off the terminal end.
Now just like
yeah. That looks nudish though.
Yeah. tower. Nearly 2 billion years ago, in the Precambrian era, the foundation of the Rocky Mountains was laid down. At that time, the oldest rocks in Ouray area were formed. The quartzite of Box Canyon. Now, throughout geological time, many faults or cracks formed in the bedrock. Approximately 220 million years ago, a massive fault began to form where Box Canyon is. Over millions of years, the hard Precambrian rocks on the south side were thrust up, while the soft sedimentary rocks on the north dropped down. More recently, the glaciers also helped to carve open the area where the falls now are. Vertical hard rock walls you see here are made of quartzite, which is a hard, non-foliated, metamorphic rock that forms from pure quartz sandstone. It's created when sandstone is subjected to intense heat and pressure, typically during tectonic compression deep within the earth. This process causes the individual quartz grains to recrystallize and fuse together, forming a dense interlocking mosaic of quartz crystals. For that reason, it's a lot more difficult to break quartzite than sandstone, because breaking quartzite, you fracture through the crystals. With sandstone, it breaks between individual sand grains.
This is pretty cool. That box down there, right inside there is a hot spring. It's 100 degrees hotter than the water in the spring, in the creek here, or stream. And what they do is they pipe that hot water down to the city hot springs. There's a pool that I visited. And the way that works is the rainwater and snow melt seeps into the earth, goes down into the Precambrian Uncompahgre quartzite. There's a lot of cracks in that, and it finally works its way down until it gets near the heat source, which is the lower rocks in the earth. Once that happens, when the water's hot, then it's forced by pressure back up toward the surface and arrives as hot springs. So, pretty cool. Again, it's 100 degrees hotter, so it's about 150 degree water. Comes in there and they pipe it downtown into the city park. There's the trail. And this is 7,000 or 8,000 feet. So you can definitely tell the difference breathing. I think Chillicothe is 880 feet. So roughly 10 times the altitude. Oh boy, is this cool or what? 8,034 feet. So not quite 10 times the altitude of Chillicothe. Ouray, Colorado. What a spot. And all these different layers of rock. That red layer is Leadville sandstone. But you got granites, you got sandstones, you got gneiss, schist, all kinds of rock layers, all from different time periods. Okay, we're looking at one of the more famous spots in geology. This is the Great Unconformity. If you look, you can see these vertical striped layers, and then you get right here, that spot, the layers are back to horizontal. That contact point between the vertical and the horizontal layers of rock represent a billion years of missing geology. What happened was these rocks were once formed horizontally. They were formed in this region in a shallow sea where sand and clay were deposited, and they were buried and compressed to form sandstone and shale. And that was 1.7 billion years ago. So they were uplifted, and as they were uplifted, they went from horizontal to, as they are right now, almost 90 degrees vertical. Then, over a period of time, the top layer of all those rocks washed away or were eroded. Then, and that was basically 13,000 to 550 million years ago. That's when all that happened. So, all these upper layers are relatively young compared to these layers. It's the Great Unconformity. Over a billion years of lost time due to erosion. Okay, this explains it in a little more detail. This rock right here, like I said, is the Precambrian Uncompahgre Formation. They were uplifted, and then over top of that, right here, is the Great Unconformity. And this is the Elbert Formation, which is the newer rocks that were dropped down. And they started about 370 million years ago. This is the Ouray limestone. That was under a shallow sea when this area was underwater. And this is the Leadville limestone. Similar. Ouray, Colorado. That may have been a mine up there with the mine tillings. Looks like a waterfall, except that that's gravel from the mine. Hard to believe that rock is 1.7 billion years old. And the Earth is only 4 billion. So that's some of the oldest rocks on the surface of the Earth. Just about all rock we see has been reprocessed. Gets eroded, buried, melts into magma, and then erupts back out. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Pretty cool trail. Okay, we're going to run the test. We said that this was a layer of limestone that was laid down in a shallow sea. Let's see if it's really limestone. Does it fizz? Yes, it fizzes. You can see that or not? There we go. That's it. Hydrochloric acid on calcium carbonate, it makes carbon dioxide. So again, all this was under a shallow sea. That limestone was deposited over millions of years. 300 and some million years ago. Wow. I can hear the waterfall. Let there be light. So the water drops over 200 feet from up here down to the where at the bottom there where the creek is.